Look at the best chance for Arsenal.
Yes.
Declan Rice.
Yes, coming to arguably a player that is very hard to question when it comes to output. But like this one again, I'm not sure if it's one of those where the ball's curling in, so you kind of try to help it on its way. I'm sure he'd probably prefer that if it was coming in onto him. So like we saw with Isak's header, you go and you meet it. He's trying to keep it going where it's going.
Just what was your summing up of the game plan and how effective it was?
Well, it was massively effective. Arsenal were limited to two or three half chances. Declan had one at the end, and I think that's all down to this. We wondered whether they would step on to Arsenal. They did at times, but most of the time they were dropped off into this bank of 4 and a 5, and the distances were so well, and they were doubling up, and they was aggressive, and Arsenal were moving it, and they wasn't doing themselves favours, Mike, was they was moving it slow. But Newcastle were fantastic in this.
They were, and in a way, we've talked about Arsenal like the Thames Barrier. Newcastle did today what Arsenal are offering doing themselves, sitting deep, doubling up here. You see Gordon getting all the way back. I mean, that's really seeing things through, isn't it? Yeah. Almost playing like a doubling up fullback situation on that right side. Same thing was happening on the left.
And Arsenal ran out of ideas, Mark, didn't they? They just couldn't. When you're playing against a team that defend as well as Newcastle did today, you end up just floating one in, and that was Arsenal's afternoon. And it's credit to Newcastle and Eddie and the structure that he put him in.
And credit to his team selection today as well, Eddie Howe, because he did make those changes.
Tonali taken out the team, so your Longstaff were Whitlow in that midfield. So Whitlock. So it was a workmanlike display, and everybody played their part. Joe Linton does an amazing job, doesn't he, on that other side as well. So both fullbacks, wingers getting back in. But the difference is the detail today. One ball in the box, and Isak gets on the end of it, and Arsenal needed to defend way better than they did, and that really has cost them the game today.
Yeah, talking about Arsenal defending, 10 goals in 6 games now they've conceded, Martin. 6 games without a clean sheet. Why do you think they're losing some of that defensive steel?
Well, over a period, obviously there's been different personnel, there's been injuries to the back four. I think this is the 7th different back four in 10 games. But look, that's a basic. It's all about touch tight in the box. And if you look, the first central defender, which is on that side, Gabriel, just gets a little bit disengaged. Look, there's one player there, and there are 2 Arsenal defenders. You've got to be able to deal with that when the ball comes into the box. And that was the one bit of, if they get a clean sheet today, if they deal with that ball coming in, it could have been, a point that they take away. But because they get that wrong, and they've been so good at that away from home, particularly, but they get punished by Isak today.
Yeah, they've had such a steady structure, Arsenal. The 2 centre halves have been consistently fit. Ben White's not been fit, and they've had to move it around. Mikel's had to move it around, and that does disrupt you. It does. So I think listen, they will get clean sheets, Mark, won't they? There's no doubt about that. And this is a rough ride. But the big test for them is their mentality and their personality. Because they'll walk back. There's a lot of people tip them for the league, me included. And I'm second guessing that now after what I saw today. But when they've got to go back into that dressing room now, and the manager's got to lift them, the players have got to take ownership of it as well, because they got a hell of a week, because they going to Milan in the Champions League, difficult game. Chelsea are on form. And the London derby, and I think they could find themselves 10 points adrift.
I wonder whether there'll be some slight changes. When Yeri came on, thought he did quite well when he came on.
Yeah, he was.
Trossard didn't have his usual game. There are players that can come in and make a change. Does Partey come back into the midfield? Does Ben White now move back to right back? So there's things that the manager can do, but it needs to find a better balance.